China is silencing feminism in video games.
Anticipated Black Myth Wukong has finally launched, and the game is already shattering records, surpassing the all-time peak player count set by Elden Ring 2.5 years ago. That said, Wukong has been the center of controversy in the last few days, and as a result, here's currently the #1 streamer on Twitch, doing a little trolling after the game launched. Here's the story.
Wukong official guidelines for early copies that streamer gets. It bans feminist propaganda or talking about China.
China is silencing feminism in video games. So this is a serious reality. Black Myth Wukong is a new game, highly anticipated, and evidently, it was developed by the Chinese, by a Chinese development studio, and the terms for playing this game online are pretty damn wild, where they literally call out feminist propaganda and state that if you're going to play the game, you are not allowed to promote any of this in the game. Watch the end of the video to fully understand why China is silencing feminism in video games and the implications this is going to have on society, women and men going forward. Now let's just go ahead and jump right back into the video. And today's video comes from Asmon Gold as well as Clownfish TV.
Oh god. By using the game key and creating content, you acknowledge that you have been informed about the following content and your statements are not related to the marketing team. DUCE, enjoy the game. Do not insult or influence other players. Do not use any offensive language or humor. Do not include politics, violence, nudity, feminist propaganda, fetishization. So if you're a furry, you can't play this fucking game. Yeah, you can't fuck the Monkey King, you fucking freak. Fetishization and other content that instigates negative discourse. Do not use trigger words such as quarantine, isolation, or COVID-19. Do not discuss content related to China's game industry policies, opinions, or news. So the reason why they do this, it's actually just so they're compliant with the Chinese government and they don't get the Chinese government on their ass because they're afraid of the government coming in there and basically fucking their shit up. Is because if you say negative things about China and then the company is seen to have done something positive for you, then the company can be seen as working with an actor that's allying themselves against the state. And how do you think that goes for the Chinese companies? Bad. It goes bad. I think it goes bad. Doesn't go very well. This is only for content creators that get the key though, right? No, yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Because if they give the key to somebody, then they're seen as working with that person. Do you see kind of how the issue happens? You can complain that the country is oppressive or it's not fair or it shouldn't be like this. But at the end of the day, the reason why they're doing this is because of that country and not necessarily anything else. So yeah.
I mean, guys, regardless of why they're doing it, the fact of the matter is that they have included feminist propaganda as one of the things that they are banning from people discussing while playing the game. This is a major implication, kind of telling us about the state of China and what China is, how China views feminism in the country. While women are actively promoting to start a new wave of M2 in the country, China is actively moving to silence any discussion around feminism in China, and not only in China but across Chinese media and product.
Black Myth Wukong,
never heard of it,
which is like the Monkey King, I think, kind of, and it's a whole thing. It's a game that a lot of people were kind of looking forward to. It is made by a developer in China, and now apparently review codes or copies are being sent out, and they've got some pretty interesting guidelines for reviewers. They're basically telling them to stick to reviewing the game, but they're not being super nice about it. And this is the climate that we're in current year with video games, when you have to remind people not to get political in your video game review, not to bring up feminism in your video game review, because we won't like it. We won't like it if we give you a copy, and that's what you use.
Not to mention COVID.
Not to mention COVID, yes.
Surprisingly, monkeypox was not off the table.
Oh, are you allowed to say? Oh my God. Yeah, that's, well, I think when they sent these out, that wasn't quite the scare it is right now. But let's talk about this, because there are some outlets that are having a huge issue with it. But again, if I were a game developer, I don't know if I would. I probably would lay down some guidelines too. Like, hey, yeah, could you just review the game and not interject your own politics or your own hot takes into the game?
Now, this is actually quite interesting, because here what we're seeing is basically video game reviewers that got keys for the game so they can review the game. They were warned, do not bring up politics, global affairs, feminist propaganda, as they labeled it in their terms for receiving these keys. Don't talk about any of these things. The only thing you should be reviewing is the game. And there are some serious problems with the game right now as it's come out. They said that there are a lot of bugs, but evidently the people are still saying, hey, the game is great. And looking at IGN's review, for example, IGN is, after being forced, literally because they would have received the same terms, after being forced to, remove any type of, criticizing, making comments about China or anything that's happened, or COVID, or discussing women's empowerment or feminism in the game, as a result of not being able to bring woke propaganda into their reviews, they basically just have to say, yeah, the game doesn't run so great in some areas, but it's still worth playing it. It's really worth it because the game is great. This is what happens when you are with. So this is very, very intriguing, because these companies don't want to pay. They do not want to pay to have to play they don't want to have to pay for these games. And to make matters worse, they need to get these review copies. They need to get these review codes in advance so that they can review the games. If they don't comply with these terms, no review codes for you. Okay? And these are not unreasonable things. These are not unreasonable things that these developers are asking for. They're literally just saying, review the damn game. Leave everything else out of it. All right? Leave everything else out of it. Just review the damn game. All right? Talk about the things you like or don't like about the game specifically. If the game doesn't play well, say the game doesn't play well. If the game doesn't look good visually, say the game doesn't look good visually. Do not discuss, gender, politics, society, any of these things. Keep, wokeism, keep it out of the game, and instead just play the game and tell people what you think of the game itself. And I think, and it actually worked. It evidently is actually working. What this tells us is that developers themselves have a lot more power than they realize. They can say to video game reviewers, if you want a review code for my game, these are the terms you're going to have to follow. If you don't like it, you don't get a review code. This is how you basically stand up for yourself and say, listen, this is what I've done. Focus on the art. Don't bring anything else into it. Like, guys, right now, Rockstar is saying that they're worried that GTA 6 is not going to be as successful as people think it is. As people think it's going to be. A lot of GTA 6 is going to be a rehash of GTA 5 in terms of gameplay. So do not expect any incredible gameplay. Mostly they focused on photorealism, but the gameplay is going to remain very much the same in GTA 6, and it might even take a step back. The game is going to be filled with a lot of propaganda, 100%. We know that it's not going to be as funny as it used to be. It's going to be heavily restricted around social politics. One of the biggest concerns in the game is literally going to be the fact that of how certain people are portrayed in the game. And, again, the developers are saying that they're already, worried, very concerned. Rockstar is already concerned that the game is not going to meet the same expectations that GTA 5 has. Another very important point is that Rockstar doesn't make as much money as you think off selling the game in and of itself. Reports claim that GTA 6 cost $2 billion to develop. This is absolutely outlandish, y'all. $2 billion to develop. Now, let me make this clear. Because we know how movies work. We know exactly how movies work. And for example, if a movie costs $100 million to make, it's going to have to make something like like 300 million or 400 million to break even. Okay, because there are a lot of different there's a lot of different groups that are involved in the production and the release and the marketing. So just because a movie goes to the box office and makes uh, $200 million on a budget of 100 million, it doesn't take into consideration the $50 million marketing budget. All right, so so now it doesn't take into consideration the fact that the movie theaters are taking a cut of that money. It doesn't take into consideration the distributors and all of these things. It's similar. It's maybe not in 100% the same, but it is similar. There are similarities when it comes down to GTA 6 and developing games. For example, not all games are digital right now, and a lot of people are going to want to pick up GTA 6 on disc. What that means is that it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if it's on disc or if it's not, because when these games are released, when it's released for $70 supposedly, right? At least 70. Here's what's going to happen. The stores that sell these games, they have to get a cut. Okay? They have to get a cut of that. Don't forget that. There's also the console manufacturers, Sony, Microsoft, even Steam. Steam takes a 30% cut from these games as well. So after everyone gets their cut, even if the game, even if the game sells, let's say it makes $1 billion very quickly, after everyone gets their cut, Rockstar may only see maybe 40 to 50 million dollars, and the game costs $2 billion to develop, and they think they're going to make that back. While there's a lot of anticipation for this game, there's some very serious implications here. They think that people are just going to upgrade to play this game, and I think that there are a lot of people who are going to be on the fence waiting. I really, really believe that, considering a lot of people who sat out this generation did not upgrade to a PlayStation 5. I'm telling you right now, especially with how woke GTA 6 is looking now, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to upgrade. They are not going to upgrade. There's not going to be a PC version of GTA 6 at launch. So no PC version at launch. I don't really know if this thing's going to run well on the Xbox Series S. I think that it does. It will. It's supposed to. But if you need a PlayStation 5 Pro for this thing to run well, I don't know how well this thing is going to run on something like the Xbox Series S, which is the lower tier console of the series, because there's Series X and Series S. And Series S, basically, it's less powerful than the Series X, so quite a bit less powerful. So I don't even know how that's going to go right there. And with so many people that are still on the PlayStation 4 generation, and this game is not coming to PlayStation 4, like 54% of Sony's install base right now is still on PlayStation 4. There's still way more people playing PlayStation 4 than PlayStation 5, and that makes complete sense when you consider that PlayStation 4 did sell was well over 100 million units. So it's still way past. In terms of sales, it is still way past PlayStation 5. And not only is it way past PlayStation 5, but the number of consoles being sold right now have slowed down significantly. The number of PlayStation 5s being sold have slowed down significantly. Sony has said that they expect the sales to continue to fall rapidly for PlayStation 5, and that PlayStation 5 is in its latter half right now. And that was more like a year ago. So, and it's kind of crazy hearing Sony is like, oh, we want to take this generation out to 2028. That's what they had in their court documents. They envisioned PlayStation 5 as being an 8-year console. You've got to be kidding me. No, I don't think so. They can try if they want to, but they're going to get left behind. Because the next console generation really starts next year. The reason why I say this is because the Nintendo Switch 2, even though it's not going to be able to do as many teraflops as the PlayStation 5, you cannot compare teraflops for teraflops when it comes to the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch 2, because it has technology in it that just did not exist when the PlayStation 5 was being manufactured and developed. So there's it can do superior ray tracing, upscaling of graphics. It has upscaling technology that the PlayStation 5, simply put, does not support. That's a massive thing. There's a thing called FSR, and basically it allows fidelity, upscaling, and super resolution, and basically games it allows games to upscale, so that they can look like they can look really great, like games that are running on PCs that require extremely powerful hardware. So the Nintendo Switch 2, and then it also has, evidently, the Nintendo Switch 2 will also handle ray tracing significantly better than the PlayStation 5 does. The PlayStation 5 doesn't really handle ray tracing all that wonderfully. So that's another big implication, So the next console generation really starts with the Nintendo Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 can do things that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S and X cannot do. Okay, this is a really next gen console. This is a 100% next gen console, and we're going to see the implications of this. So I don't know. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal, guys. Where this is going to lead to is more developers potentially in other countries, because we've seen what happens with a lot of these games that say, hey, we're not going to tolerate wokeism. We're just going to make games that people enjoy. This could be a big push where you're going to have like a developer saying, yeah, listen, we're not, if we publish our game, if we give you review codes, you can't include this garbage in there. All right, it's just about the game. So this is, and of course they're going to be labeled. No one cares. Gamers are completely tired of politics in their games. So we could see a much larger push, and of course, a lot of women won't be happy about this. A lot of people who are pushing these things won't be happy about this. But at the end of the day, there's also a lot of women who don't like what's happening in gaming and the fact that games have become so political. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy. Also, subscribe to the Angry Guy Clips channel, where we post shorter videos and video responses, and also the Angry Guy Live channel, where we live stream. Both channels are linked in the description. And finally, protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Click the link in the description to get started and support the channel. Guys, what do you think regarding all of this? China is silencing feminism in video games. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video, and just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.